I think there are three big flashpoints, maybe four. One is Taiwan. As you know, China wants Taiwan back, and the Americans don't want China to get Taiwan back. So that's a big flashpoint. The South China Sea is a second flashpoint, and I think that's the most likely place where you will have trouble. Third area is the East China Sea, and there the Japanese are involved over these very tiny islands. And then the fourth area, which is not to be underestimated, is the Korean Peninsula, because the United States is deeply committed to South Korea, and China is committed to North Korea.
Some would argue South China Sea now is much more dangerous than Taiwan because it has no ready mechanism to manage conflict there.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that if you look at the military balance at this point in time, and for the next, let's say, 10 years, it's unlikely that China will try to conquer Taiwan. And of course, there is always the possibility that a Taiwanese leader will declare independence, which I think would probably trigger a war. But the Americans fully understand that, and the Americans will go to great lengths to tell the Taiwanese, I hope, that no Taiwanese leader can declare independence, because we don't want a war over Taiwan, for sure. The South China Sea is a very different matter. China has disputes with countries like the Philippines that could easily lead to a shooting conflict. And as you know, the Americans have a treaty commitment to come to the aid of the Philippines. So the Americans could get dragged into a war or a shooting match between the Philippines and China. So you could tell other stories about how trouble breaks out in the South China Sea as well.
Many Chinese people would argue if U.S. stopped provoking China in these places near China, it will be much more peaceful situation.
Well, many Americans would argue that if the Chinese would stop provoking the Americans and China's neighbors, that we could all live peacefully. And this is exactly what you would expect. You have a security competition taking place.
And also some understanding gap.
Well, there's an understanding gap of sorts. I don't think that most Americans understand that it's not China's fault that it wants to be powerful. China has a deep-seated interest, as I said before, in making sure that it never suffers another century of national humiliation. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to be really powerful. Because if you're not powerful, other countries in the system will take advantage of you. And I think most Chinese don't understand that from an American point of view, the Americans should not want China to dominate Asia. Right? You should want to dominate Asia. China should want to dominate Asia, the way we dominate the Western Hemisphere. So what that means is that you have this intense security competition where both sides are trying to take advantage of the other. This is the nature of security competition in a world where there's no higher authority and where states therefore have to worry greatly about the balance of power, and they have to maximize their power. Is that cooperation takes place under the shadow of an intense security competition.
All four flashpoints are near China. So arrogant they are. Why not those four flashpoints near the United States, such as Cuba, the Gulf of Mexico, Canada, or the Atlantic and the Pacific regions close to the US? We Chinese haven't fought a war in half a century, but we wrote The Art of War 2,500 years ago. Don't think the Chinese can't or don't understand the war. We just don't like it. We love peace more than war. But if we have to fight, we must win. If we can't win, then nuclear will be the last choice for all. If a hard war really breaks out, the decisive battle won't be near China. The US homeland will be the primary target. US military bases near China are just the appetizer. Of course, Russia and other powers won't be the winners either. In this case, everyone will be dragged into the war. On September 3rd this year, China will hold a military parade to commemorate the victory in the anti-fascist war, during which China sacrificed over 30 million soldiers and civilians. Remember, 30 millions. What is a military parade then? It's a display of military strength and fighting spirit. Why display it? To tell warmongering fools, if you are reasonable, we will be reasonable too. But if you want to fight, even if you shoot first, we can still take you down. It's just like how we practice boxing at a gym first, to stay healthy, and second, so that if we encounter thugs, we can teach them to be reasonable. Follow me for part 5.